really clever stuff. I've always really appreciated those artists or thinkers who have had to, kind of navigate around all of that stuff. When I come from a place where, sure, it's not the way we want it, but at least for the most part, we can come right out and say we think it's bullshit and why we think it's bullshit, and then we can have discourse. This is a whole nother, far more complex can of worms. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another Friday installment here at the Audiophiles. I'm Andy, that's John, and as mentioned, it's a Friday episode, so it's an episode dedicated to a song and an artist suggested by one of you lovely listeners out there in our audience. Today, that lovely listener is Louise7580, and they have offered up some more Jorge Ben. And now the tables have turned here a little bit because the last time we did Jorge Ben, which was the episode on which Louise made this suggestion, John was the one to offer it up to me. And now I am in the role of having done the homework on this track and will be, filling John in on all the interesting information related to it once he is done going off and giving this thing a listen. So, John, that probably underscores the idea that you are not familiar with this track, which is titled Porque, Proibido Pisar na Grama. And my guess is you are not familiar with that, correct?
No, so I obviously have this on vinyl. There's another one of his albums I've got, which is Tabua de Esmeralda. And this track is not on either of the albums. So
Yeah.
excuse me, really looking forward to listening to this and seeing what it's all about.
Great. Awesome. Well, I will say that I have given it a listen myself, so I too am interested to hear what you have to say about it, as I'm sure is Luis and anyone else who clicked on this episode to check this out. So please, speaking of checking out, why don't you go do that with this song and then come back and let us all know what you've made of it.
Will do.
Acordei com uma vontade.
Oh, hold it a minute there. That's just beautiful. You've got this sort of that piano part, little phrase, just it almost feels like a character. Somebody who has a sort of wistful, nostalgic regret for a past affair, but kind of savors in the bittersweetness of it all. And these sweeping strings coming in. So the previous Hawaii band that we listened to was sort of very rhythmic from that album there. This is and I have heard these before, my very limited knowledge of Brazilian music, but they're sort of more sentimental, poetic sort of songs. And this sounds like one of them. It sounds great straight away. It's good to be. Let's start again. Samba beats.
Acordei com uma vontade de saber como eu ia e como ia meu mundo. Descobri que além de ser um anjo, eu tenho 5 inimigos. Preciso de uma casa para minha velhice, porém preciso de dinheiro para fazer investimento. Preciso às vezes ser durão, pois eu sou muito sentimental. Meu meu amor. Preciso falar com alguém que precise de alguém pra falar também. Preciso mandar um cartão postal para o exterior, para o meu amigo Piccioni. Preciso falar com aquela menina de rosa, pois preciso de inspiração. Preciso ver uma vitória do meu time, se for possível vê-lo campeão. Preciso ter fé em Deus e me cuidar e olhar minha família. Preciso.
Okay, just I could let this go, and I probably should, but just to say, my Portuguese is terrible. I reckon from the title, Porque stands for why. Proibido probably is prohibited, but the rest of it, not a clue. I heard sentimental in there. I think he said familia as well. But that's about it. Yeah, no chance. I don't even have a background in Spanish to trying to guess. Just schoolboy French, schoolboy German, schoolboy English. But yeah, it sounds fantastic. There is this sort of sentimental sort of sweeping feel running through it. There's a lovely flow to this, and the strings are amazing. The arrangement is superb. There was those lovely pizzicato bits in there. There was a little flourish. Songs like this usually are about the smile of a girl who walked past weeks or months ago, or with like Arthur Verocai. There's this very heavily veiled criticism of the military, the oppressive military government of Brazil. I'm not sure what part of his career this was. It does sound like a very sentimental, sort of wistful song about a lady. So that's my guess. It sounds great, and it has all that sort of sun-drenched samba beat that's really, it's hitting a groove and going there. Occasionally I hear the acoustic guitar, sometimes the bass, but that beat is insistent, and it's just great. And the strings are phenomenal. And his voice sounds lovely, has a lilting quality to it. It's great as well.
De carinho, pois eu quero ser compreendido. Preciso saber que dia e hora ela passa por aqui. E se ela ainda gosta de mim. Preciso saber urgentemente porque é proibido pisar na grama.
Porque é proibido pisar na grama. Porque é proibido pisar na grama.
That's the title line, I think.
Com a vontade de saber como eu ia e como ia meu mundo. Descobri que além de ser um anjo, eu tenho 5 inimigos. Preciso de uma casa para minha velhice. Porém preciso de dinheiro para fazer investimento. Preciso às vezes ser durão, pois eu sou muito sentimental, meu amor. Procuro falar com alguém que precise de alguém pra falar também. Preciso mandar um cartão postal para o exterior, para o meu amigo Piccioni. Preciso falar com aquela menina de rosa, pois preciso de inspiração. Preciso ver uma vitória do meu time e, se for possível, vê-lo campeão. Preciso ter fé em Deus e me cuidar e olhar minha família. Preciso de carinho, pois eu quero ser compreendido. Preciso saber que dia e hora ela passa por aqui. E se ela ainda gosta de mim, preciso saber urgentemente. Porque é proibido pisar na grama.
Porque é proibido pisar na grama. Porque é proibido pisar na grama. Porque é proibido pisar na grama. Porque é proibido pisar na grama.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Haven't got a clue of what was going on in the lyrics. Sometimes you don't need to, you know. Um, sure, it's in a foreign language, but you know, whatever he's trying to convey. Music put me in a place and a mood. It's full of sort of sunshine, and that acoustic guitar is fantastic, just like brimming with life. Um, the whole thing had a sort of wonderful, uplifting quality for me. Um, Again, it's probably counterintuitive to whatever message you were saying, but yeah, the arrangement was something else. When the strings came back in that first time, sort of 2 minute mark, it was with like the grace of a Rolls Royce silver cloud just gently gliding in. And on the back seat there was some female vocals as well, which was brilliant. And I think they only sung the title line, and they came back and right at the end for the fade out as well. Yeah, this was just beautiful. I am so pleased to hear this. It'll get me off my arse and listen to some more by Ben, because what I've heard I really really like. So this was a great shout. I'm so pleased to listen to it, and I really enjoyed it. So let's find out some more about this. Let's go back and chat with Andy.
All right. So you are back. Wondering if you walked on any grass while you listened to this. Please let us know what you've made of it, John.
Yeah, so this is a very different vibe from the previous track that you listened to,
Mm-hmm.
Uma Baba Uma. I didn't realise at the time that until I did the research that it was about a footballer. So most of the tracks on that album, Africa Brazil, are primarily concerned with sort of rhythm and the influence of African beats. This track has all the hallmarks of another type of song from my limited knowledge of Brazilian music. I think is quite popular within what I've heard. It's that kind of wistful vocal melody that through the language barrier suggests whimsy and introspection. There's usually a couple of reasons for this. Quite often one is the smile of a girl who passed by weeks or months ago, and they're still obsessing about just one smile. There's a really strong romantic flavour running through the sound of this song, and you can picture him almost savouring the bittersweet daydream of what might have been. The other, as we saw with the track with Artur Verachai, is the sort of really carefully, they had to be careful, sort of veiled criticism of the oppressive military rule in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of this and clues, I reckon Porque is why, Porque, and Proibido is probably prohibited or forbidden.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I've got. Something about pissing on grandma probably isn't correct. So not much clues there. Why forbidden? Why not? So the song starts with these lovely sweeping strings. And just from that, I'm getting pure sentimentalism, sort of like a nostalgic affair almost. And this really excellent piano phrase that keeps tinkling away. It's almost like another character in the frame. everything is underpinned with this infectious samba beat and the acoustic guitar and the percussion section just full of sunshine. So Mr. Ben's vocals slide into the track as if it was somebody else's DMs. Again, zero comprehension with the Portuguese, but there is a really delightful lilt to his voice. It was more of a sort of group rollicking song in the previous track, and this one here is more the poet about it.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful pizzicato strings that add this elegant flourish. It's just like the sort of the sway. Again, it just makes me think of there's a femme fatale involved because it's like the sway of delicate shoulders or the peak from underneath a very wide brimmed hat. He is like a romantic poet, and you can bet it's not bloody daffodils he's singing about or an Elodian harp. The texture of this song is amazing, and it's really hard to fully digest in a first listen. There's always something going on, slightly changing. Back comes the piano for another tinkle of a few lines. The strings sweep by once more. The song has a really wonderful flowing quality. Around the minute mark, I can filter out most stuff and hear the bass for the first time. And I catch and it's quite a nice sort of up and down rhythmic. And then I catch one word that I understand. Sentimental. I think this backs up my suppositions, but it would be just my luck if it happened to be Portuguese for municipal swimming baths or something. So anyway, he continues in a quite word-heavy manner for quite a while until we get to sort of 1:45 mark, where his voice develops in quite an earnest manner. And all this time, that samba groove strikes an almost hypnotic beat. At the 2-minute mark, back come the sweeping strings, re-entering with the grace of a Rolls-Royce silver cloud. And on the rear banquette, it ferries a host of lovely female voices.
Mm-hmm.
The dreamy quality of this song has just inched up a couple of notches. There may be some recycling here, I think, within the song, because the same string parts do the same thing again, that pizzicato movement, and I catch the word sentimental again, municipal baths. Other elements slide downstage to leave the acoustic guitar in the spotlight for a while, and it does sound fantastic. He's famous for his acoustic guitar and the way he plays it, but it just sounds absolutely brilliant here. Apart from that, it feels like it's brimming full of life. Is the only way I can describe it. It's just so bright and vivacious, and the percussion reminds you once again how infectious the beat is. So we then get a few more throwaway piano lines tinkling away before the strings come back once more with a plum of somebody who owns their own cocktail bar. The chorus of female voices comes back again, and they're repeating the title line, and it dawns on me they probably did that the first time as well. I think that's all they sing is the title line. And then we fairly quickly fade out with the sunset. So yeah, I thought this was absolutely gorgeous. It was really it's a different side of him. It's really pretty. The other album is this sort of folky acoustic, which is very nice, and this was something else. The arrangement was just superb as well. Really, really stunning. So yeah, more than happy. I really like this, obviously, and I was very, very pleased to be able to listen to it.
Yeah. This was a lot of fun to listen to for me as well. And you're right. There is this sort of, you can hear the stuff that appeared on the previous albums and what you've offered up, but then you hear he's flirting with other subgenres and styles that he's incorporating into what is now at this point become his trademark sound. So that was fun to hear this other side while also hearing undercurrents of, his sort of original sound as well. And yeah, the pizzicato, the injection of, the other vocal tracks on this song made it all that much more beautiful and fun and engaging as well. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Jorge Ben, as mentioned in our episode dedicated to his track Ponta de Lanca Africano, or Umbabaruma, pardon me, um, is a Brazilian popular musician who has mastered the samba style and explored soul, funk, rock, and bossa nova sounds as well. His music has been covered by artists such as I think it's Caetano, Veloso, Sergio Mendes, Miriam Makeba, Soulfly, which is wild to me, and Marissa Monte. I don't know if you're familiar with Soulfly, but they are like a very metal band from South. I think they're Brazilian actually. Max Cavalera, I think, is from Brazil. But yeah, interesting that they would, despite they're from his area, but from totally other side of the track musically, and they're still understanding the power and influence of his music and importance of it to Brazil. So yeah, that's really really cool stuff. His musical work has been vastly sampled by music producers and DJs in a variety of genres such as jazz, funk, disco, and acid jazz. Ben's broad minded and original approach to samba led him through participation in some of Brazilian popular music's most important musical movements, such as bossa nova, hovum guarda, and tropicalia, with the latter period defined by his albums Jorge Ben in 1969 and Forca Bruta in 1970, which I'm sure is brute force. I think we may have talked about that one on the previous episode as well. He has been called the father of samba rock by Billboard magazine, and according to music critic and channel favorite Robert Christgau, Ben and his contemporary Gilberto Gil were always ready to go further out on a beat than any other samba or bossa nova geniuses. And since we've already covered Mr. Ben on our channel, I'm going to avoid rehashing a lot of his biographical information, though what I said notwithstanding, and kind of just focus on this portion of his career and the the track that we were offered today on the album on which it features. The album on which it features is Negro e Lindo. And the track's title, which is again, to remind you, Proibido Pisar na Grama, translates to because it's forbidden to walk on the grass. And so the and Negro e Lindo translates to Black is Beautiful. And Black is Beautiful is Ben's eighth studio album and was released in 1971. Negro y Lindo was reviewed at Album of the Year, and the reviewer offered up the following. Black is Beautiful. That's the central message of Negro y Lindo. An album that sees Jorge Ben dip his toes more into lush samba soul and baroque pop rather than the more raucous samba rock of his last few outings. Though that fun energy still permeates. Songs like Porque Proibido Pisar na Grama, and especially the title track, are more direct observations of the world around Jorge and his place in it as a black man. While the track Cassius Marcello Clay, which I'm sure you would be interested in listening to, John, is obviously about boxer Muhammad Ali, who Jorge views as an inspiration, as does John, and hero for black liberation and expression, which goes to show. Go ahead, John.
So this album was 1971.
Yeah.
So that's even before Ali hit peak, like, popularity with Foreman and then Thriller Minute and all that.
Yeah.
So even before that. So
Yeah.
this has been after his stance against Vietnam, and that's what's elevated him within the black community.
Yeah.
And really,
And 1971, to be vocally against anything that the government is for whilst being black is brave enough. So yeah, the pageantry and the showmanship that would come later with the boxing stuff, yeah, I'm sure that also added to it. But yeah, I'm sure his taking a stance against the United States government and, international dealings, if we'll sugarcoat it, probably lent into Jorge Ben's being inspired by him. So this goes to show the importance of representation if his reach extended all the way to Brazil, this this Cassius Clay fellow. Negro y Lindo is actually quite an underrated gem in Jorge Ben's catalog, a lovely and soothing exploration of more soulful tones that feel like a contemporized version of his original samba work. And over at WordPress, the following was submitted in a review of the album. As free as ever, with his favorite trio Makoto in session, Ben slips over the meter when it suits him, gleefully sailing his voice over the compositions, liberating his vocals and lyrics from the comparative rigidity of his signature brand of samba. And I think that's kind of a more detailed, slightly longer-winded version of what you were trying to convey in picking up on his vocals in this track too. It felt like there was like more air in his step or something when he was singing in this one, which I thought was really fun and interesting. Even though I've only listened to a couple tracks by this guy, I was able to discern this difference in his approach as well, and it was kind of refreshing. Which is to take nothing away from his previous stuff at all, but even without understanding the words, his joyous whimsy, that's an excellent way of putting it, is unmistaken. And then you get to the translations, an impassioned ode to Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali, love songs that border on spiritual awakenings, the minutiae of daily life and the true beauty behind the mundane, the title track, which exalts the beauty and excellence of blackness in the face of Brazil's uniquely troubled past. Jorge Ben acknowledges and unpacks pain and trauma, knowing that the greatest hatchet man in the war against evil is love and joy. So, allow me to jump into these lyrics, which I was fortunate enough to find translated into English, and then discuss them with you a bit further. And yes, I will just be sticking to the English translations. I woke up wanting to know how I was doing and how my world was doing. I discovered that besides being an angel, I have 5 enemies. I need a house for my old age, but I need money to make investments. I sometimes need to be tough because I'm very sentimental. My love, I need to talk to someone who needs someone to talk to as well. I need to send a postcard abroad to my friend Big Joni. I need to talk to that girl in pink because I need inspiration. I need to see my team win and, if possible, see them be champions. I need to have faith in God and take care of myself. And I look out for my family. I need affection because I want to be understood. I need to know what day and time she passes by here, and if she still likes me. I need to know urgently. Why is it forbidden to walk on the grass? Why is it forbidden to walk on the grass? Why is it forbidden to walk on the grass? So, Porque Proibido Pisar na Grama by Brazilian artist Jorge Ben uses the simple restriction of walking on grass as a powerful metaphor for societal rules. The song questions the arbitrary norms that limit human spontaneity, freedom, and the search for peace and authenticity. And in a piece entitled, I Need to Talk to Someone, Why Is It Forbidden to Walk on the Grass? For Medium, Sarah Fonseca does a deep dive into Jorge Ben, this track, and its importance. Considering Jorge Ben's cultural and historical influences, it becomes easier to understand the depth, the symbolism, and how this man resonates with the soul of us mere mortal Brazilians. As in the lyrics, I woke up wanting to know how I was doing and how my world was doing. I need a house for my old age. I sometimes need to be tough because I'm very sentimental. I need affection because I want to be understood. I need. Beyond self-realization and personal desires, Jorge offers a window into human experiences more common than we imagine. Throughout the lyrics, he reveals himself as a tireless seeker. The repetition of the words, I need, is more than a figure of speech. It's a pressing need for meaning. However, the music isn't limited to introspection. It also explores the fundamental need for connection and mutual understanding. Fundamental human needs, such as the search for meaning and interpersonal connection are shaped by cultural and social factors. How many, many thousands of us don't want to be cared for, loved, desired, welcomed, or understood, and to know if that special person still cares about us? How many of us don't strive to have a home for old age at the mercy of a system that sells us the trap of productivity but doesn't allow us to have expectations for a dignified and peaceful adult life and old age? How problematic can it be not to have your own feet on the grass? Yeah, some interesting stuff here. I would not look, I'm armed with hindsight right out of the gate because I was listening to this while looking at the lyrics. If, as a non-Portuguese speaker, if I'm listening to this, it's got all the trappings of a love song of this, like, there is this apple of his eye for whom he pines and is espousing these feelings. But it's not that. It's something even bigger. It's something even more base level and fundamental, because without this you can't even have what we just talked about. You need to have dignity and acceptance and a rightful place in society, and you can't have these silly arbitrary restrictions. And just the part about, like, wanting a home for old age in a world that that convinces you eventually will get there, and by the time you're there many of us aren't equipped to have that at all. It's really interesting stuff, this subject matter that he's discussing here. Go on, John.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. It reminds me of so round our way, and I think across the whole of the country, um, you have local councils put aside certain areas, um, grass, and it's a common ground, so you can, anyone can go on it. And then they put massive fucking signs up saying no ball games, so kids can go on the grass, so they can't step on the grass, but they can't kick a ball or throw a ball or hit a ball with a bat or a racket.
Yeah.
And it's just, can we set up a scenario where we can drain as much potential joy as possible from these children? And yeah, I mean, on the way to South Kesteven District Council, it would just say no ball games by order of SKDC. And you think, you fascist little twats.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
especially when it's tax dollars that are paying for the maintenance and upkeep of these grounds. It is the people's grounds. Of course you shouldn't litter on it or deface it or any of those things, dig up the grass and the soil, but allowing children to be children on grass their parents are funding is fucking ludicrous. So yeah, I that really resonates with me as well. I mean, we see a lot of the same kind of shit over here as well. I don't know there's probably not many countries that don't have these arbitrary bullshit signs everywhere, signs all over the place. You know what I mean? So it is. I mean, this theme has been rampant throughout the
Yeah.
20th century, or at least the latter half, and now into the 21st. So yeah, this is it transcends, even though this clearly, as Fonseca noted, this resonates with the Brazilian populace, of course, and it should. He is one of your legends and one of your greats. It transcends even that. Almost in the same way the act by Muhammad Ali transcended even breaking ground in America to other people in other cultures. Songs like this and acts like this can resonate beyond your own borders as well. So, yeah, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I had a lot of fun listening to this one. I had a lot of fun thinking about the subversion that would take place when listening to this, thinking it's about one thing because the music. And how many times do we talk about that? Like ad nauseum, like once a week, probably one of our songs portrays musically this thing while lyrically it portrays another. Usually it's like, oh, well, you think it's about love and it's about heroin. This is a nice change of pace. It's not about love. It's about, maybe government overreach or restrictions by a big brother or something like that. But yeah, go on, John. It looked like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, but there's this sort of trend going through Brazilian music, and I've only scratched the surface. I've got like 20 or so albums of Brazilian artists, but that period of time as well, late 60s, early 70s, where they have to be really super careful
Very careful.
because of the
Eggshells.
military government. So you
Yeah.
get this subversive tones within these love songs. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great. I think it's really clever. The hidden messages. You know.
Exactly, exactly. I guess that's where it's different from signs. Signs everywhere are signs, where you can just come right out and say what the fuck you have your beef with and get it out there. This, yeah, you have to dance around it and be very clever about it. You know, it's like being like a medieval alchemist and you're trying to write about like the stars and how they align without, angering those who subscribe to Catholicism or Christianity and how you have to kind of like toe that line lest you be thrown in some tower for fucking the rest of your life or something like that. It's the same sort of, mentality and tiptoeing around the issue that you have to do here. Really clever stuff. I've always really appreciated those artists or thinkers who have had to kind of navigate around all of that stuff when I come from a place where, sure, it's not the way we want it, but at least for the most part, we can come right out and say we think it's bullshit and why we think it's bullshit, and then we can have discourse. This is a whole nother, far more complex can of worms. So yeah, yeah, really, really great stuff, and really great shout by Louise 7580. This is a really, really great track, and I'm sure he is, and I'm glad you enjoyed it as well, John.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, folks out there in the listening audience, please let us know what you thought of. Let me give this one more go. Porque Proibido Pisar na Grama by Jorge Ben. And please, if you guys are familiar, John sort of alluded to earlier what albums he has by Jorge Ben. Obviously, we've got 2 tracks now on the channel that we've covered. If there's other stuff that either features on those albums that John has that I can listen to, or outside of that that John can listen to, please feel free to shout them down in the comments field below. We both, obviously, John has a deeper, richer history with Jorge Ben than I do, but I'm getting there, and that would be a great opportunity for us to check out more from this artist. Plus, it would also diversify our portfolio here, which is admittedly a lot of post-punk and, indie rock and things like that, which we love and will continue to do, but it's nice to inject it with some new and different stuff every now and again. So please feel free to shout out anything down in the comments field below as far as suggestions go and your thoughts on this song or Jorge Ben himself. We'd be really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Also, please like, share, and or subscribe if you haven't done any or all of those things. We really do appreciate it. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next episode of The Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.